Hey everybody, just checking in. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. I just wanted to drop a couple of announcements and then check in with the Bible reading plan. Tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. on the bottom floor of the worship center, we've got a Bible study going on. It's in the only classroom down there, and we're just going to check in on how things have gone in the last week of the Bible reading plan, maybe share some things that stood out to us. If you've been keeping up with the Bible reading plan, it's going to be a great way to share and learn both what God has shared with you and what God is showing and sharing with others, and we grow in that. And if you haven't been able to follow along in the Bible reading plan, that's no problem. Just come on in, and it'll be a great time to catch you up to where we are. Starting next Thursday, February 4th at 8 p.m., we begin our weekly young adult worship service called The Docks, and that's going to be open up to all young adults in the area. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you'll start to adjust your Thursday nights so that you can be present with us each time. It's going to be a good time. If you've been keeping up with us in the Bible reading plan, then yesterday you started the book of Habakkuk, and you knocked out Habakkuk chapter 1 yesterday, and today's Habakkuk chapter 2. I'll be honest, things that God did that really led me to selecting Habakkuk for this week that we're on is that if I reflect over the last year, like everybody else, it's been a tough year, but there's so many times that I've found that I had a spirit similar to one that Habakkuk has in the beginning of this book. He's upset about the way that things are going, and he's wanting God to act, and so he cries out. And I love the beginning of God's reply to Habakkuk in chapter 1. He's like, "Look up, big boy, because if you could see, you would be astounded, for I am doing a work that you wouldn't even believe if you were told." And it was just this great smack in the face that sometimes I forget the fact that God is so sovereign over all things, and he's not an idle God, but he's active, and he's always intervening. And even in the parts that I can't see, I can trust him because I know him and I know his character and because of how much he loves me. And so Habakkuk has his second reply to God, and then we start in today in chapter 2. And in this chapter, God has told Habakkuk to start writing some things down. We learned in chapter 1 that God's going to use the Babylonians, and sometimes that'll interchange with the term Chaldeans. It's the same people group, and it's not because they're acting better than the Israelites. That's not how this works. It's because God's choosing to use them. But there is this section in chapter 2 where we see God tells Habakkuk, hey, there's some woes coming on the Chaldeans. There's some woes coming on the Babylonians. They too will be judged for what they do. And the part that really jumped out to me was at the tail end of chapter 2, starting in verse 18 and moving on to through verse 19. And essentially, he's saying, look, what profit is an idol when its maker has shaped it? And then it kind of goes into some things like, woe to him who says to a wooden thing, awake, and to a silent stone, arise. Can this teach? Can these things that they're worshiping teach them? Can they instruct them? Can they show them righteousness? And the answer is no. Obviously it's no. And to add to the silliness and the folly of this exercise, they made it themselves. What kind of God is it if I can make it? And while it's one thing to look back historically and think, those stupid people, it's another thing, though, if I'm like, but wait a second, I do those same things. Maybe money controls my mind and my heart, and so what I do is I earn money or I make money, and then that drives my bus. That drives my decision-making bus, and all my life is about money. So that is, in essence, my God. Or I cultivate and form certain relationships, or I pursue relationships. And again, if that drives my bus, if that is the singular most important thing to me at any given moment, that is my God. It's not something that can teach me. It's not something that could create me. I created it. It's silly. It's folly. It's foolishness. And this is a great passage here that I hope you'll take the time to pause and just kind of ask God, hey, what silly things have I made an idol out of? I have hobbies. One of them, as some of you know, is I like to fix things up. I like to build things, do some carpentry things. And quite honestly, every now and then, that hobby will get way too big in my heart, and then it'll just take over the inner decision-making center of my heart. And I have to step back and be like, wait a second. Why am I wanting to funnel all of my extra money towards this? Why am I wanting to sacrifice time from what God wants me to be spending with other people and spending it on this in isolation? Why am I letting this drive my bus? Isn't it silly? Hobbies aren't bad, but when I elevate them to this place of a deity, that's what makes them wicked. And then God just kind of ends the chapter reminding us that God, the Lord, is in his holy temple, a holy temple that we cannot create, dwelled by a God that we did not create, that created us, whose works are so big that we wouldn't even believe them if we were told them. That if we were to raise our head up and look at the works that God is doing, we would be astounded. He is in his holy temple. So let us be silent and let us worship him. So I hope that you'll have a moment today that you can worship him. I look forward to hearing how the Bible study goes tomorrow night. I look forward to seeing y'all Sunday in Sunday school and obviously next Thursday as we start the doc. So I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you later.